Good morning, early birds. How are you? I can hear you all tweeting out there. What? Doesn't even make any sense, Dr. Feravich. Do you know what tweeting is? Well, I think I opened up a Twitter account simply to say to Bill Maher, I'm going to be there at your show. Pay attention. He was. We are here in the classroom. You can see I have my OJ. So OJ Simpson. Orange juice. Orange juice is what I have there. And I also have my chalkboard getting updated right now. Today, 205. Round of applause, please. Round of applause. I can hear it in the background. Somebody's plugging that in. But it's not my staff. I don't know why not. You know, I give people opportunities to be creative and they fall asleep on the job. 205 here in the classroom. Well, let's go ahead and get started on June 10th in our June 11th. I came over here to change this. And then I don't even know from whence I speak. That's old English. I'm just letting you know. It goes with the pearls. Alrighty. We've got our farm creatures ready just in case I have to put a special post-it note on something. Emergency post-it notes right there. And you know they're emergency because they were cut. That's an emergency. I need an emergency post-it note that's about an inch by, I don't know, half an inch? No, that can't possibly be. You know what I have? Measuring tools right over there. I showed you all that, didn't I? That would be a good way to measure how long that is or how wide that is. Using this little, I think it's, there's something, it begins with a C. It might be calibrator. Might be, I'm not sure. So I could start here and put my little ruler right there, right where I want it. Yeah, I will get those titles out of the way. Right? And then you slide this up. And technically it works probably a little better this way. Then you're not even biased by the number. And there it is. You're like, I don't like that number. It's way too small on the number chart here. You know. Then you turn this around. Uh-oh. Then you turn this around. Look at the equivalents, the decimal equivalents, and start memorizing those. That's what we do. And there it is. So you have an exact measurement of, which is 1/32 of an inch, or more precisely, 1/16 of an inch. Isn't it? Look at that. That's how we use precision measurements. And if you were really like, I have to get it right, you could take this and divide it by 3 and then use this measurement in order to make each one of those even, if that's the kind of person you are. Early birds, we are just cranking it up already, aren't we? I probably need to shut that door oh, it is almost shut. It is shut. I talk very loud for all of you. And just looking around, making sure everything's keeping it all in check. I don't have people like you have people over there. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I don't. Let's keep it going. I am all set. Look at that. Did you see what was going on the early birds, on the other classrooms, in the other classrooms today? There we have it. So we've got it all up there. So we are still doing God is red. And say God is with us. No, he is. Yikes. Where's all this dust coming from? And still in the Bookless classroom on life in industrial America. The reason why it's taking us so long to get through those readings, early birds, is like I do everything, I have to comment on these. That's a lot of what some of the other classrooms are about. There's commentary. I try not to comment so much in the reading room. I try to just read, but this is a book I picked for commentary. So check it out. It is so darn good. I can't even begin to tell you. All righty, let's keep it going. So we are on types of energy, right? So we're talking about energy. We had day one of what is it? Why do we need it? Yesterday, we really took a left-hand turn, didn't we, on energy? We sure did. Yeah, with all those other liberals. Liberal thinking is what we did over there. Yeah, annihilate the liberal thinkers. What a joke you are. What a joke you are. And then you say, I'm not a sheeple. Let me tell you something, early birds. Those are sheeple. People who want to force you to think one way about God. People who want to force you to think one way about energy. Right? People who want to force you to think one way about business and money and what is rewarding and what isn't and what is right and what is wrong. People want to tell you that all the time. You know what I did this morning? I cried because I broke my coffee cup. Oh, I could cry again. Yeah, one of my yellow coffee cups. Mine, not the one that I bought for my husband, which has the big rooster on it. Of course it does. Hello. He was kind of a, you know what? I don't want to mix those words together on early birds. Anyway, I do try to be careful on early birds, even though it doesn't always work. And so it was my cup, the one with all the sunflowers on it. I know. I just broke the handle and I dropped it because of that damn piece of junk other coffee cup. I'm sorry. It is. Don't give me an effing coffee cup. Sorry, early birds. Don't give me a coffee cup that doesn't match anything. Don't do it. I said it, and I don't care. That was stupid. And then a plate, besides, a single plate. Ha ha hee hee. And it's plastic? Seriously? Does anybody know me? Does somebody know me? Did you know me? Anyway, so we certainly did take a left turn in liberal thinking land when we talked about energy in a very non-capitalistic way. It's a very traditional way, though. We talked about energy yesterday in a very traditional way. Really? Really? You did. I did. Because I talked about it as inspiration in this traditional kind of family way, how we inspire one another. And that's energy. Don't let those scientists fool you into thinking that STEM has got the hold on energy. You know what they have? They have a line on a kite in the sky. That's what they have. They have a line on a kite in the sky. Do you understand what I'm saying, early birds? Do you understand what I'm saying? There is this vastness of energy that we don't understand fully, just like God. Come on. Come on. What else can God be but all of that energy? And what are we but lines attached to kites in the sky? Trying to get one piece of that energy, aren't we? Aren't we? And some people are trying to get that piece of energy all for themselves so that they can just be, and that's the truth. And you know that's the truth. Even if it looks silly on the screen, I know that it does. Doesn't that kind of anger so out of proportion seem not only mentally ill, but at its, beginnings, at its genesis, doesn't it seem silly? Did she just say Genesis was silly? No! Hello, I love that band. Let's keep it going. STEM energy. Now we're going to really narrow the focus over here as we continue on day 3. So day 1, types of energy, why do we need it? Why we really need energy is the biggest reason we need energy is to find our identity. That's what we put our energy toward. That's why people are over here going, I don't care what you think about my body. Great. But don't forget, you need to care about what you think about your body. Especially when it comes to putting those pharmaceuticals in your body. Don't do it. They tried to make depression a big hype. Going to a psychologist, a big hype. And I'm here to say that that was their genesis to getting people to get addicted to antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and then that allowed them to force on people their antipsychotic medication. It's a joke. All of it is a scientific joke. And there is no good, real energy going into that area or that field. And that is really true. They are misleading you into thinking that there is good energy by putting money in front of you and saying there's money there. But they keep getting you to work for that money, just like everything else in America, and keeping you in your class system on purpose. Everything that you produce above and beyond your class system is benefit to this kind of system. They take it away. They're rewarded by putting you in a lower class system because that's what they take from you. What you've produced beyond your system. That's for the upper class people. Right? That's what I'm doing. Low class citizen producing for upper class people. That's the American way. Right? And all minorities are the ones who are working for the upper class. Well, I'm sorry, women are minorities, folks. So all women who work above and produce above their caste system goes to those people who develop the system. But don't you worry, boys and girls, because their brains are turning to mush. And we all know it. They're alcoholics. Early birds, there's a dose of adulthood for you. Let's keep it going. And you would get that. Number 1 from me, because that's where my energy has always been. My energy has always been into being and acting like an adult. It's one of the reasons why I have difficulty teaching young students. That and the fact that they had all their parents behind them like a great big waterfall of nonsense pouring out against me. Who would do that, Stocks? And Bondies? Who would do that? I don't know. All right, let's keep going. So, I don't know if I got to that second part there. So let's quick read it. We're going to quick read it. The second triangle. The second square there. Learn your shapes. That was way back when, and we did learn our shapes here in Early Birds. How does a concept relate to scientific knowledge of energy? Humans represent potential energy. Emotional energy can be harnessed for good or for bad, which would be, again, the actual existence of our emotions without being shown potential energy. Emotions to emote, to move. To move. What else do I have to do except for to try and move you, right? So all of this energy is filtered down to the least common denominator in order to get you to produce. So all this energy, this potential human energy, they really literally are the powers that be. My eyelashes dirty up my lenses. They do. That's why I got to pull these away a little bit. See? So by harnessing your energy, all that they're wanting is just a single cord attached to you to pull the energy that's specific to their needs. And if they don't get it, they'll kill you. Don't be afraid. They do it in really weird ways, like COVID, right? Like pandemics, like fear, like pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals really are testing your body to see how much poison your body can accept. That seems to me like a Nazi experiment. How much poison can we give you? And when does it begin to start messing up your brain? That's what they were doing in Milford, Michigan. That's what they do to people downtown, like me. Because they are self-proclaimed right-wing fascists. Most of them fascists, if not right-wing fanatic Republicans. Absolutely. What else do we call those in this day and age? That's what we call them. Oakland County filled with them. Filled to overflowing in Oakland County where I live. So that's the reason why you want to wonder why I have so much energy. So much resistance. So much resistance. And to be able to understand physical energy and relate it to psychological, experiential, emotional energy is really using your noggin. That's really using your noggin, right? So force and resistance. Force and resistance. Now we have a fight on our hands. Now there's damage being done. Force and resistance. So we certainly can understand something about our emotional being, our emotional well-being, our health, our spirit from the physical world. But let me tell you something, early birds, they took it from us. They didn't have it out there and then whatever. They took it from us. They took it from our human spirits. They took it from all of that. Let's go this way. All of that potential energy that each one of us have. We know the overpopulation statement. We know. Instead of calling those conspiracy theories, we're going to start calling those organized crime. We're going to start calling it organized crime. Conspiracy theory? Possibly. But when there's more than a couple elements that are working together, that's organized. It becomes organized. And in order for something to become organized, there has to be intelligence behind it. And what are those people who set the system in place trying to do? They're trying to develop a single line to your energy. And if they can't get it, they'll destroy it. before they let you use it. How would they do that? Through their drugs. It's, again, you don't have to be afraid. It's through their drugs. They don't want to force their drugs on you. No, they want you to want them in every way. They want you to want their drugs. They want you to want their drugs physically by getting you addicted to them, by telling them you can't get off of them once you're on them. All kinds of what? All kinds of imbalance, all kinds of poisons that happen to your body. Your body is trying to get it back in balance because it was poisoned for so long. Through your body. They want you to get it in your mind. So desire it in your mind. What am I going to do today? I'm going to be so bored. I think I'll take some Adderall. And then they want you to get it in your spirit. Now my whole spirit is revolved around these drugs. And, you know, it can be all kinds of enemies that the United States has made that's doing this to us as well. But, you know, those enemies are making friends with people who are making money. Because that is capitalism. Those enemies are making friends with people who are making money. Because that's capitalism. But read the bottom line for those 1%ers, or listen to the bottom line for those 1%ers in our Bookless classroom. It's amazing. They said it. They will never again, which means it happened, be ruled by people from an African descent. And then you can just expand that to every single race, and you'll know where their energy lies, and you'll also know what kind of energy it is. And that's all you need to know. Is it good energy or bad energy? And where are they pointing that arrow? To drain you on a single line of your energy. You know, I don't know. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she said it. And, you know, it might be all covered up in kind of weirdness, but she's got something there. And that's why they wanted her to shut up. I'm right there with you. Not on that wacko right side, though, Marjorie. Come on. They're wackos. All right, so I do think that we talked about this, but I put that extra slide in there. So we talked about energy, but this is a good reminder. This is a good reminder. We use energy all the time. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So that being said, that to me makes it sound like energy is very, very godlike. We're trying to tap into something that we literally are saying has been here all along, because you couldn't create it and you can't destroy it. Well, that says God to me, because that's a definition of God, right? Always here, always will be here, infinity, beginning and the end, right? Although those are really time constraints, where energy clearly is not. And then you begin to understand, if I can tap into energy and time has one line of energy, then I could probably use my energy to move back and forth in time. I can't. They clipped my wings. But I'm saying it's possible, right? And by the way, if they want to unclip my wings, they can. They clipped my wings. I keep saying that. Clip my wings. If you were to think about it in spiritual terms, and I came from God, which I believe that I did, right? Then coming here would clip my spiritual wings. But I'm okay with being human. There are certain things about being human that I really like a lot. And in particular, the ability to change, right? God is very stable, and we need something very stable on one end of the continuum. What I really love is the ability to change underneath inspiration, right? The ability to become better underneath real inspiration, right? So, and that's how it changes forms. That and I didn't even go there. I mean, I went there and said it. What do I love? I love the ability to change. God is all the way on the other end with stability. And I love that about God. I love that his word is never changing, and I'm trying to seek and find ways that I can tap into it. Not in one way, but in many, many ways. Similar to our symbol for the atom. And I just read yesterday that what nuclear energy is basically those lines that really aren't lines. We are keeping electrons and protons attached to some nucleus, right? That we are causing war because we are taking this formula of energy and, as a scientist, breaking it up, breaking it apart, and causing nuclear wars because of it. I mean, we really have to think about what we're doing. And if in their mad scientry, they are taking energy from God, knowingly, or at least speculating, hypothesizing that energy could be godlike, and taking the energy and manipulating it so that they could become godlike, which on a human level they would, taking the resources and then regulating those resources to become godlike. So clearly, early birds, a way to take godly things, godly spirits, and destroying them. Now, energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can change forms. And why do you think that they burned witches? Changes form. But what they don't know is the spirit that goes up and changes form. The spirit that's in the blood that saturates the land from their wars. So burning in fire, the spirits are going up. Blood on the land, they're saturating the earth. And my guess is they're coming back with a vengeance, and that's evolution. Mechanical energy. Let's talk about the different types of energy, because that's what today's class is about. How much fun is this going to be today? It's going to be a lot of fun. Here's mechanical energy. So different ways. Now, mechanical energy, let's think about it differently, because here's a definition. The energy produced by an object by moving it. Always remember the definition of energy: the ability to do work, don't like it, the ability to do anything, right? So how does an object, here, the energy produced by an object by it should be say by it moving. That's what I should say, by it moving, not by moving it, because if I'm moving it, then I am creating the energy, right? By it moving, I think that makes more sense. So we're going to go ahead and change that right now. There we go. Done. Just like magic. That was like magic, because it was so behind the scenes. You couldn't see it. It was almost like magic, right? That was not my crew. I think one of them fell asleep because they would have changed it. Some of them are okay. Anyway, let's move on. So the energy produced by an object by it moving. So here we've got, you can see an object here now. You can see how an object can move by itself. It would need some more energy to move up a hill, wouldn't it? Right? It needs a lot more energy to move up a hill. Like maybe some of my energy to push it. Or what else? What else can move that cart up a hill? What other kind of energy can move that cart up a hill? Exactly. A battery, gasoline, electricity, an engine, which uses lots of different kinds of energy, doesn't it? Chemical energy, electrical energy, lots. For mechanical energy, but mechanical energy is movement. And so that we can see. Some energies we can't see, right? Lots of energies we can't see. What's in the space between us that I can see or feel you over there looking at me? What about that energy? What's in the space between us when I can feel you over there looking at me? That's energy, early birds. That's energy, right? When I keep looking at this hair over here that's sticking out, that's taking energy away from a strong focus on what I'm saying, isn't it? What kind of energy, though? What kind of energy is in the space between us when I feel you looking at me? That's not mechanical energy, is it? We call it chemistry, don't we? We call it chemistry. It's changing my chemistry inside of me, you looking at me. Happens all the time. That's in quantum physics. By you looking at anything and observing anything, you change the energy. So what you're looking at and observing is being changed. It's not exactly the way it was. So you don't know what you're observing. Do you see? Do you see? Are you observing that in its natural habitat, or is it changed because you are observing it? It's changed. It will change. How much it's changed depends on how much my body chemistry changed because you're watching me. Clearly, you can see my body chemistry does not change a lot because people are watching me. What's up with that? I don't know. But don't give me the number so I know. Don't give me something so that I know you're watching me all the time. Now watch this. Okay. Keeping a move on. What about the second picture right there? What about the second picture right there? How much energy is being used by that cart? None. It's sitting there. No energy at all. But it has what? It has potential energy, doesn't it? It has the potential to slide down. Let's do it this way. Slide down, just like in this third one, right? So this has the potential to go this way or that way and slide pretty easily. So that's not using a whole lot of energy, not compared to this cart here, which might need a push or an engine, right? So with all that in mind, let's look at the next slide before we move on. Mechanical energy, I didn't change this one, but I should change it, and I will. Which of these carts is showing the most potential energy and why? You know what? Actually, I need to turn that off. And we need to go to our PowerPoint because I forgot. I've got all my little cute things on my PowerPoint, which I totally forgot. All of my animations, those are my cute things. All of my animations I have on my PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and pull this open. Give me 1 sec, early birds. Oh, shoot. Give me 1 sec. Here we go. Whoops. How about that? Of course, I'm going to have to go through all of these. Oh, no. Oh, I'm on the right one. Which of these cards is showing the most potential energy and why? So, potential energy, the most, not the least. We've kind of already talked about which one's showing the least potential energy. But which one is showing the most potential energy and why? Which one has the most potential energy? I'm sorry, we didn't show what the least was. We showed what the most was. Which one has the most potential energy that isn't using any energy? Card number 2, because it isn't using any energy, right? So card number 2 has the most potential energy. It's storing the most energy up, which means it's not using the most amount of energy. So which one is demonstrating the most kinetic energy? Which one is using the most energy and why? Which one's actually having to use the most energy? Card number 1, because in moving, it takes more energy to move uphill. So that one is using more kinetic energy, right? Potential energy stored, kinetic energy, movement. So the last question is explain the use of potential or kinetic energy for the one remaining cart. And the one remaining cart is what? Cart number 3 is using some kinetic energy. It's moving. We see it moving, but much of the energy is unnecessary because the cart is traveling downhill when you compare it to the one that's moving uphill. So it's storing more energy than it's using. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I was going to correct it. I'm not going to. So let's go back to this slide then, and let's talk again about what it takes to be mechanical energy. Chemical energy, we could see something maybe in the liquid if there's a chemical in there, right? In our foods or whatever, right? If there's a chemical in there, we could see the liquid, but I can't see the chemical. This is orange juice. I hope it's all orange juice because it's like not from concentrate. So not that concentrate is who knows if that's all that bad? I don't know. There's a lot of water in this. Concentrate, they pull the water out. I could put the water back in. You know what I'm saying? Probably not that big of a deal. Okay, so mechanical energy, we can see the movement. That's the whole thing. Mechanical energy is pretty easy to understand because we see the movement. I'm looking for a pair of scissors, of course. Oh, I put them someplace else. Darn it. I had a new place for them in my drawer, and they're not there. Let me look again. No. So, we remember the definition of energy, the ability to do work, the ability to do anything, because that's the human energy, the ability to do anything, right? I don't need to hold them like that. So, but if you think about things, objects, we create objects to do work. We create people to connect. God created people to connect. We, people, created objects to do the work, right? So these scissors are mechanical energy because I can see the movement and what this movement does. It does work. That's the work that this movement does. This work is going up or downhill, which I might need to do, right? If I have a whole cart filled with sticks and leaves, I've got to use more work to do that. I might want that cart to use more energy, a different kind of energy, to help me do my work. Energy. Do you understand? Are you getting it? Take a look at some of those other examples. The hammer shows you without hammering, the hammer on the wall, that's potential energy. The hammer in the workshop is potential energy. When you're moving the hammer, or even moving the scissors, that's kinetic energy. They're moving. They're doing something. Not what I want them to do, not what they were made to do, but they're moving air, right? They're doing something. That's kinetic energy. Mechanical energy is when it does the work, right? Mechanical energy is when scissors do the work it's supposed to. Or when the hammer does the work it was supposed to, right here. With the nail being hammered in, that is mechanical energy. It did the job. A clothespin sitting there in the drawer is lots of potential energy. It holds up all of your clothes, your sheets. Well, not one clothespin, right? But a clothespin can hold up, a pair of heavy jeans on a clothesline. It can hold together a glued item, right? Clothespins. I forgot about that. I could use clothespins on my projects. That's what I bought them for. I forgot. I had a whole bag of clothespins. I'm like, seriously? Is this all the way from when I used to hang clothes out on the line? Like the 2 days I hung them out on the line? As a child we did though. That was a mess. But I will say something, early birds, which is really weird to me. And that is, my dad really did. I was like a Cinderella. I was, because I did all the work at the house. But in doing all the work, that taught me all the things that I know I can do, which are all kinds of things. And I really honestly have nobody to thank but my dad. I mean, no, that's not true. I mean, growing up, I have my dad to thank for that. My sisters got away without doing work. My older sister naturally cleaned the house. So she was always, the golden child, never really doing like the work that my dad's business, for example. And, I'm just thinking about why I didn't take over the business, since I was the one who knew the business so well. But there was really no business because it was a typesetting business. But early birds, that gave me the whole background for a couple of things. It gave me the background for putting together some really good slides that communicate the information I want you to learn in, I think, easy steps. And that's my real gift. But that probably I learned from typesetting, right? I learned all of the details that go behind putting a newspaper together. So that included things like making sure that your photograph, you don't just put a photograph in a newspaper. What you have to do is you have to give them, and in some ways you can, but no, you can't. No, you can't, because it can't go through the printing press. It couldn't go through the printing press. The only way that they could do that was to make a copy of it, which is what they do now. So you can have a photograph today, but back in the day, because it went through a press with all that ink, you couldn't put a photo through a printing press. So you had to make that photo printable. And so you had to take a picture of the photo is what you had to do. And you had to put that. So all of those things I learned about the detailed process. I learned about fonts and different fonts and looking for those and what draws eyes and what goes with what, and sizes of fonts and the density of the font compared to the density of a photograph. Those kinds of things. And colors and Pantone colors, what those were. So I learned an awful lot from my dad, and he was strict, and I think that there was a lot of anger in the house because of him, but I do have to say, he taught me a lot. And what he taught me through all of this was to have the courage to do this. So for that, I am grateful. And therefore, Dad, I hope that you have a really great Father's Day, even though you don't talk to your daughter. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. And I'm not quite sure what's going on with everything as usual, but we keep plugging away until we're told to do something different, right? You guys are going to have to expose yourself in order to get something that you want, and you know you're not going to get it from me. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. This is what I give you. This is what I give you. I hope it's enough. We are on day 205 here in the classroom. What classroom, Dr. Feravich? This is the early bird classroom. Thanks for joining me.